Hello once again, and welcome to Heroes and Droids, your guide to movies and TV shows about superheroes, sci-fi, Disney, and action. From Marvel to DC, from Star Wars to Star Trek, from James Bond to the Fast and the Furious, we will review theatrical films and streaming delights you care about most. Tonight we're reviewing Bill and Ted Face the Music, and we're pretending we went to the theater to see it, even though we just streamed it. I am your host, Doc Rotten, and joining me tonight are an excellent group of friends. And what better friends to watch Bill and Ted with? All right. Starting off with Chris Slattery, the Slattman. How you doing, bud?
Dude, I'm great.
Something is afoot. Yes. All right. Are you a fan of the Bill and Ted series? Does it predate you?
Yeah,
I think it predates you, right?
I think so. I appreciate what it is. I appreciate a lot of the music jokes in it, but it's never been one of those ones that I've gone out of my way to like watch.
Well, this is going to be a challenge to get you to like this one, I think. All right, let's find out what happens. Also joining us is podcasting rockstar and international cosplay queen, Vanessa Thompson. Welcome back. Oh, nice to have you here on the show.
Good to be back. Yes. Be excellent to each other.
Yes. Awesome. Yes. Put our hands out. Are you a fan of Bill and Ted films?
Oh, yes. Station. I love Bill and Ted. It's
Wild Stallions. Yes.
Yeah, Wild Stallions. I always. I mean, I'm a product of the 80s. There's no way I would not like Bill and Ted. And I will just go ahead and say this one did not disappoint.
All right. Well, there you go. Spoilers. All right. Also joining us is award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Moore. How you doing, sir?
Yes. Play a little air guitar for you. I'm doing wonderful. Just trying to stay awake for this podcast.
Well, okay, so we always call you award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Moore, and there's a little bit of behind the scenes shenanigans to go with that, but you are actually an award-winning filmmaker, and your name is Christopher G. Moore, right?
Yes.
And we just want to congratulate you, sir, for winning yet another award, Best FX Short Film at Genre Blast 2020. That was this past weekend. Tell us about that.
Yeah. It's very weird because the majority of film festivals we got into this year have all been turning either to virtual or just being canceled. And the people at Genre Blast Film Festival, they're in Winchester, Virginia, which there's an Alamo draft house there. And so luckily that part of the country hasn't been as deeply affected with COVID-19 as other places. And so they still can show movies. They were showing Tenet there. They were showing, a lot of movies that are out right now. I was tempted to skip the film festival and go see other movies, but I had to be there for the film fest. And so, yeah, it was weird, but it was amazing being able to go into a theater and watch a movie on the big screen again. And it just felt really nice. But yeah, it was cool. You had to wear a mask a lot and wash your hands a lot, but and then there was a lot of spacing out of people in the theater. But yeah, I mean the screening there went really well. Our film Backward Creep looked wonderful on the big screen.
Yay!
I want to. There was a guy sitting behind me that was like very receptive. He was receptive to all the films, but I just want to pay him to go to all of our screenings in the future, just to make it sound good. Because
you're a hype man.
Yeah, because there's a big effect scene toward the end. He's like, "Whoa!" He's like really loud. And there's like a scene that Vanessa has. There's a line that she says. Actually, a few lines, and the guy like laughed out loud 2 times at Vanessa's lines. So
nice.
But yeah, it was really cool. And I had so many people come up to me afterwards and compliment us on our film and saying they can't wait for the feature film to come out. And then I think one of the strengths, there's a lot of strong points, I think, in our film, not to be egotistical or self-congratulatory, but I'm very proud of it. But one of the strengths is definitely the effects. And so we ended up getting that. And there was like 10 movies in that category, so it could have been anybody's award. And so, But yeah, we got it. And I was really excited. It was kind of cool to be there, and it's better than just them shipping the award to me, being able to hand it off to me. And
yeah, definitely.
so yeah, it was great. And it was just great to be able to socialize again.
Mm-hmm.
I get to hang out with Vanessa Wright from the Women in Horror Film Festival, and Rick, a guy named Rick, who's was part of that film festival and stuff. And I had a blast just hanging with them. And Zane Hirschberger, who directed Forced to Fear, his action film was really great. It's like a love letter to 80s and 90s action films. So if you like those, that'll be right up your alley. I got to see Jason Buterin's Kill Girls, which had Michael Williams, who was in my film Knob Goblins. And that had the Felissa Rose in it. Had the, what's her name?
Ellie Church, right?
Yeah, Ellie Church. Actually, she was amazing in that. And then also the woman who was from Night of the Living Dead, they're coming to get you, Barbara. That woman. She was in it. And also the guy from what is they played in Road Warrior. He was the bad guy with the butt cheeks hanging out.
Vernon, right?
Yeah. Vernon Wells.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
we met him.
We did meet him. He so yeah, I got to see a lot of really cool short films, a few cool features, and yeah, it was really nice. I really needed that. So. But at the same time, I'm tired. I didn't get a lot of sleep. So.
All right. Well, today, we are going to be reviewing Bill and Ted Face the Music. So what we do is we give our first impressions, then we talk about the film for a little bit, and then we wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. That's always the best part, so stick around for that. Let's dive into this. So, but what are we talking about? We are talking about Bill and Ted Face the Music. Now, it's been, 25 years, 30 years since the last one? Look at that. I've got the wrong name up there. Isn't that wonderful? It's a sleepover. What is that? Just pretend that says Bill and Ted.
Oh, no.
It's directed by Dean Pariseau, written by Chris Matheson and Ed Solomon. This is what happens when you have to do things really fast. Cast equals is Keanu Reeves, of course, and Alex Ritter. Kristen Schaal, who is wonderful. Samara Weaving, a favorite here at Gruesome Magazine. Bridget Lundy-Paine, William Sadler, yay! Anthony Kerrigan, yay! Aaron Hayes, Jayma Mays, and Holland Taylor. All right, once told they'd save the universe during time-traveling adventure, 2 would-be rockers from San Dimas, California find themselves as middle-aged dads, still trying to crank out a hit song and fulfill their destiny. Not in the sleepover, but in Bill and Ted Face the Music. All right, let's get past all that. You guys can sing me good ones. Let's find out what we thought. And you know what, Vanessa? I think you should be first. What is your first impression of Bill and Ted Face the Music?
Oh, I was very pleasantly surprised because, I didn't know what to expect. And when you hold something so dear to your heart, especially in such a nostalgic kind of way, you don't want to mess that up. And this definitely did not. It was such a feel-good movie. It was nostalgic, but not in a pandering kind of way. I honestly felt like I was watching the real life 50-year-old Bill and Ted. Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter took these roles. They just picked off from 19 to 50. They were these characters in such a believable and heartwarming way. And I loved Billy and Thea. They were so sweet and so smart, and I feel like such a good representation of people that age. They have the things that they like. They don't know what's going on in the world, really. They're trying to just focus on the good and the right and the happy. And, I really love their look, too, because they're not hypersexualized, but they're not sloppy. They just kind of are who they are. And that's so evident in how they play this role. And they really just do feel like the female version of their dads in such a sweet way. I just, all the way through, it's so touching at the end. I shed a few tears at the end. Yes, I really enjoyed it.
All right. Well, that sounds great. Yeah. So the important thing that we didn't really mention in in the synopsis is that the daughters actually have a good portion of the story. And we get kind of the split, right? They go off, do their thing. And
the dads are almost the B story.
Yeah, they almost are.
Yeah.
All right, you're up next, Slattman. What is your first impression of Bill and Ted Face the Music? Now, you are, like you said, you're not a fan of necessarily of the first two.
So I wouldn't say not a fan. It's just more of it's not one of my favorites. Like I enjoy it for what it is, but it's not one of the movies that I grew up loving. So the nostalgia is not really there. That being said, this movie was excellent. In all the best ways. It like Vanessa said, it was a feel-good movie. It hit all of the right notes, pun intended, at the right moments, and it was a great movie for 2020. It really just made you I just cut off the TV feeling happy afterwards.
Yes.
The daughters, they stole the show for me. Like Keanu and Alex Winter, they're both great, but I loved the performances that those two actresses gave us, especially trying to imitate Alex Winter and Keanu, and they did such a good job. And yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was. I loved all of the music jokes and the music puns and everything that has to do with specifically everything that had to do with the daughters story, their story. I absolutely loved. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, what's kind of neat is they kind of do the same stories from the first one, but it doesn't feel like a repeat. It feels fresh still. So that was interesting.
That's what 20 some years will do, though.
Well, all right. Yeah. All right, Christopher G. Moore, what was your first impression of Bill and Ted Face the Music?
You know what? I wasn't sure what to think. Because a lot of times we've seen this a lot where they've brought back a lot of properties from the past and or what they call legacy sequels or whatever, where they bring in they bring him back and then you have the next generation or whatever, because I think the last Bill and Ted that they show up and they have their kids in little backpacks behind them and stuff. So yeah, I wasn't sure what to think. And also I think like most people, we're at a point now where we just see Keanu Reeves as being John Wick. So it's kind of weird to see him go back into his goofy dude bro character again. But then you can sort of see that he's really having fun with it. And they really sort of fall back into those characters pretty easily, even when they're older. And I think more than anything, I think for me, maybe, I could relate to it a whole lot more, with it being involving aging and how you try to how do we solve this problem? We were supposed to have done this thing by now, by this age or whatever. And so I think that kind of story, it kind of hits you if you're older or whatever. And so you could sort of see their issues, and you also sort of see how their kids are much more intelligent than they are. But yet people still treat them the same because their geekiness sort of makes people think that they're lazy or that they don't have any kind of motivation or whatever. So yeah, and I think also this is one of the few films where you have a comedy that's sort of mired in it's not mired in sarcasm, it's not mired in sexual poop jokes or anything. It's not really mired in a lot of things you find in a lot of comedies nowadays.
It's true. Yeah.
Granted, there are some stupid stuff and everything. It's more, but at the same time, it has such a positivity about it that transcends, like, I think more so than the first two films. And I think this film is the perfect film for our time right now, with their world being so divided, with people, whether politically, whether racially, whether, you know, financially. There's so many people that are, you know, drawing a line and being mad at each other, but there's not enough people sort of coming together as a community is what we need. And this film has that. You know, it makes me wish Bill and Ted were real people so they can come here, time travel, and help us solve our issues. You know, maybe pull all these people from history, pull Abraham Lincoln back and Martin Luther King back, and all these different people to help solve this issue that we have right now. So I think this film, it touches on a lot of different issues. It touches on age. It touches on being excellent to each other. That the only way that we can solve a problem is to come together as a whole. It's more than just two people. It's about everyone. And I think because of that, I'm getting teary-eyed talking about it. Why am I so emotional lately? But it's like the ending. I mean, and I think what shows it even more, I don't know if you remember when they were doing the little contest where you could submit you like playing air guitar or dancing to the song, and they would include it in the end credits. And the end credits got me teary-eyed too, because you have all these, even Weird Al Yankovic shows up
I know, awesome.
because he's a fan of the movies too. And it wasn't like, you know, he didn't have to have a cameo in the film per se, but he's in the end credits because he's just like everybody else. You have like people all around the world who submitted these videos, and so that's just a nice compliment to the story, which is about like the only way that we can fight this is have everybody throughout the world come together as one. So yeah, I think that's what I loved about it. I think that element of positivity is something we don't see much in films. It's usually mired in so many other things that don't really, you know, it's more about people being so cruel or horrible to each other. But yeah, and also I loved on top of the you know, Keanu and Alex or whatever playing their characters, they get to play so many crazy awesome characters, like seeing them as the prison guys.
yes.
Or seeing them as or seeing them like I think I read that when they show up at the mansion and they're all dressed up like rocker dudes, and evidently they based that on Van Halen.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But then you see they're not even that at some point. And then you can see them as old guys, to where they're still like, they still have the essence of who they are, or even though age is kind of like getting at them. So yeah, I love that. I love that aspect of it. You know, it works really well, even working in death back into play. And I even love they made hell, they seem like not so bad. When you have like nice demons or whatever. So I don't know. This film was much better than what I expected. I mean, I will say I've enjoyed the previous Bill and Ted films, but they're not. I'd rather watch a lot of times Wayne's World before I'd watch Bill and Ted, but it does make me appreciate those more. But this is just it's a whiff of positivity that we all need to breathe in right now. And I think that everybody needs to watch it and sort of, I wish we could all come together like they do in this film.
Yeah, I want to see that on the box. A whiff of positivity. Oh, man. Okay. In this film, we get to see Jimi Hendrix jam out with Mozart. Oh, come on. That's amazing. You know, he's out there. Oh, man. That was this film. It blew me away. I wasn't really sure we were getting, because it kind of stumbles a little bit at first. I mean, it sets up some things, and you're feeling the nostalgia, so you're going with it, but you're not really jazzed, right? It's just kind of, well, this is Bill Ted, all right. And then it kicks into gear. And the last half or 2/3 of it are just great. They're just great. And you really do. You get caught up in their journeys, both sets of characters, and some of the other characters along the way, like this Dennis the robot. What an amazing character. And right. And
my name is Dennis.
Yes. Dennis McCoy, something or other. He's that was hilarious. Played by Anthony Carrigan, who I remember him. What I remember?
He was in Gotham, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Zaz is in Gotham. Yeah, much different character, and he's so funny.
Well,
oh my god!
Well,
so
I think
funny.
that's what I love about it. They take all these different things and they put their own spin on it. Because most of the time, you see those villains like in the X-Men. He feels like somebody from the X-Men universe, and he's not a very confident robot.
No, not
which is,
at all.
I think this is hilarious. A very and then they named him after the ex-boyfriend of.
Yeah, Kristen Shaw's ex.
Yes.
I loved her in this. She was so funny.
She's named after George Collins' actual daughter.
Yep. Kelly. Yeah. The William Sadler's back at Death, and he is so good. Oh, he's so good.
Hilarious.
One of the best things of Bogus, right? Bogus Journey. And he is the whole backstory with them is, that they broke up and they had, it's your typical rock and roll story, right? And, oh man. And he was so endearing as Death. It's so funny. And the way the younger Bill and Ted, but was it Billy and Thea, right? Come in and kind of save the day with that was, remarkable, really good. The Wise are great. Aaron Hayes, Jama Mays, they were fun. I like the counseling scene when okay. So this film is actually a bromance, right? It's a bromance, 30 years in the making, right? It's these guys are still hanging out with each other and still stand up for each other, and even into the future as they go into it, right up to they're lying in their beds and old men, and they're still in the same room watching the same thing. And that makeup as them in old age was remarkable. Really good makeup. There was some good fun special effects in this. The different Bill and Ted's through the years were pretty hilarious. I guess okay. So I loved it, but I want to give a shout out to Alex Winter. So we all know Keanu Reeves, and we've all been following him, Neo and Speed, everything, right? He's just kind of taken over the world, right? And he's also Hollywood's nicest guy, right? So how can you compete with that? But Alex Winter really brings it. I thought he just was built, right? He just really just fell right into it. And I thought he actually did a better job than Keanu did.
Well, I think Keanu automatically kind of talks like that in the past, we know Keanu's like, whoa, he's like, you watch Speed or any of those films of the past. And so
even
we sort
Matrix,
of,
right?
yeah. And so we sort of associate him with that, and Alex, was in Lost Boys, and he's actually built a career making documentaries now. So he's sort of like, he doesn't do as much of this anymore, but but they both love these characters. So yeah. I think, especially when they go to that mansion and he's got this sort of like, he's got this long hair and the way he talks and stuff is just hilarious.
Yeah.
Great job,
he just reminds me of it reminds me of like a rocker type dude. I do find it funny how they're trying to trick themselves.
Yeah, they're past so because they already know that it's gonna happen.
Yeah, so they're not totally idiots because they figured out their own shit, but I do find that funny where they're trying to trick each other. They're trying to trick themselves throughout because they remember, we're going to show up at this specific time, so we need to trick ourselves. But yeah, I would say Alex, I think he definitely stands out a little bit more, but I think because he hasn't probably been in the mainstream and we, like even Matrix, whoa, I know Kung Fu, it's like we sort of associate him with that. So it's almost like a Jack Nicholson thing where he just turns up the volume to be in Bill and Ted,
I think he did better as the other three characters, the other three or four. Like the old Keanu Reeves was the old Bill or Ted rather, but the buff Ted and then the rocker Ted, I thought he really got into those. Those were a lot of fun. So and yeah. I mean, where can you? I mean, even the brother, the father, and the
oh my God, Missy and Deacon.
Yes,
okay, the opening of this movie is just hilarious because they've always they've had this relationship with Missy in both movies, right? And then here she comes again, and they still brought Deacon into it too.
Mm-hmm.
I thought was just really, really great and really fun. And it's really weird and gross. The whole thing that they're setting up,
but it's hilarious
because they're like, whatever, as long as you're happy.
They talk in this duty type talk, but there's a sincerity in everything they do, which just makes it very funny that they're serious about it. They're not. I think in any other type of movie that people would be sarcastic on purpose, like, oh, and you married this person, and then you married my dad, and
or break the fourth wall, kind of. I'm so glad they didn't do that.
It could have easily gone that direction to where I think that's the worry. It's like they could have made these characters much different. Like with them aging, they might have changed them to not be the Bill and Ted that we love. And I think sometimes you don't necessarily. They still have an arc. There's still an arc to their characters. Because the whole dude bro thing, there's an arc to that later on, to where they can't, which affects their relationship with the women. So they have that, but I don't necessarily have to, because they could easily, I'm sure, not to make this point because I like Less Jedi, but when those people get mad about Luke Skywalker being a certain way, and they could have made Bill and Ted grumpy old men, grumpy old dudes.
They kind of did, right? You kind of got both a little bit with their future selves.
Well, you know what? That's true. That's true. Because when they're future selves and they're trying to trick themselves.
Us. This is the alternate us.
Us. Yeah. That's true. That's true. So you do get to see that. But I guess because we're focusing on the current ones.
Yeah. But it shows them as that's the darkest timeline, let's say. That's not the timeline that they should be on. So that's how Bill and Ted should not be, So you see them as they should be, trying to keep that hope and that light and pass that on.
I kind of want to go and look at all the different tattoos their prison dudes have. Because it's all funny. I think there's even a WS on Alex's forehead for a long time. It's just
muscly bodies that were funny.
Excellent across the chest, across the belly. Oh man! There's a couple of really fun cameos too. I'm not going to say them here. With a couple, there's a current rock star or musician star, not really a rock star, for the new audience, and then we get one for the Bill and Ted audience as well, and they're hilarious. This movie. Yeah. Well, what else can we say? Slattman, any last words before we get into our final thoughts?
Again, I just want to say the praises of the actresses that played Billy and Theo. Like they really, for me, stole the show. I thought that their performances were even better than Alex's and Keanu's. Like I really believed their characters. I believed that they really wanted to go and help their dad, and the scenes where they're convincing all of the other rock stars to join them, and it's just Mr. Hendricks. It's just I don't know. I loved everything, every scene that they were in, and I'm light spoilers. I'm so happy with how their arc ended.
Yes, yes, me too.
It was so perfect because it still came from Bill and Ted still helped save the world, but it was just such a good way to just happy feelings.
Yeah, I would say you could see what they were going for almost from the get-go, but I didn't care. I went with it, and it was such a satisfying ending. This movie just left me happy, and Yeah, and then seeing the credits, the end credits with all the people.
And
doing
then
the air guitar.
credits scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, the post-credit scene, that was fun.
Stick around for that, right?
Mhm.
All right.
You know what? I would just want to say, I have a huge crush on Samara Weaving.
Yes,
but
you do.
It's funny how she really can sort of transform into different roles, because it doesn't feel like it's the same actress that we've seen in like Ready. What was the name? What was the movie?
Ready or Not?
Ready or Not. Yeah. She really can transform into different roles. And I read that she'd never seen any of the Bill and Ted movies until she got an audition for it, and her husband's like, "You haven't seen the Bill and Ted movies?" So, but yeah, I think they do. Yeah, they're definitely the standouts of this, to where if they ever made a sequel, you could probably follow their characters.
Yeah, you would think that given her lineage that she would have, a little bit more knowledge of Keanu Reeves films, because her uncle is Hugo Weaving, from The Matrix, right?
Yeah. That's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
She's the niece of Hugo Weaving.
Yep. Mr. Smith, right? All right, so let's do this. Let's give our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. But before we do, if you are enjoying this review, please subscribe down below, hit the like button, hit the bell so you can get reminded, and leave us some comments. What did you think? Did you rent this for 20 or buy it for 25? Or are you going to wait? Why?
Channeling his inner Keanu right there.
There is a discussion to have about price point, because 2 movies came out recently and they both had different price points. I was really willing to cash out for one and not the other. Something to think about. Disney. All right. Let's do this. What is your final thoughts, your score, favorite scene, and who is up first? It is Vanessa.
I had a blast. Watch this. Rent it, buy it, own it. It's great. It falls so in line with the previous 2, just beautifully. It is the feel-good movie that we need. Bill and Ted save 2020. I wish.
Oh, please. Yes.
I wish. Yeah, please save us. It's just that, I can't say enough good things, because I honestly was so afraid of how it was going to turn out, and how, and those other movies are very special to me, and those characters and the message of the other movies and the music really in general. As a fan, I have a very diverse love of music, and to see that pulled in all these other movies, and in this one especially, to see their daughters pull such diverse musicians together, just really, really touched me. And it's just a great ending. It's not pandering at all. It's wholesome, but not in a corny kind of way. It's still fun and fresh, and it's amazing that they were able to do that. I just give them so many kudos. So I'm going to give this one a 5.
Whoa!
Yeah, this is definitely in my top 10 of the year. I absolutely loved this movie. Everything about it just made me feel great. And I would definitely watch it again. I'd watch all 3 in a row. I think it was they paid a great homage to our original Rufus. Yes, I really loved how much they loved him in this
Carlin.
Movie. Yes, Carlin. So I give it a 5. And my favorite scene, so I have lots of scenes that I really enjoyed, and that were I just found myself laughing at things they were doing, whether because it was so silly or dumb, or because it was just really well timed. But I honestly felt so touched when everything came together, when they're out there playing the song and the girls are doing their thing, trying not to give too much away here. And just when everything comes together in that moment, everything just feels so good and so right. And just, you want to take that with you. And that was my favorite scene. That was my come together, tie everything together scene.
Excellent. All right, Slattman, you're up next. Give us your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene.
This movie was really fun, and it was really what we needed. Thanks, Keanu. Thanks, Alex. And the fact that it didn't just focus on them and focused on new characters really left it open for them to continue making movies without relying on Alex and Keanu, which is awesome because I really loved the new additions to the cast. I loved what they brought to it, and for me, the those actresses that played the daughters are the highlight. I know I've said that a million times now, but I loved their presence in this movie, and their arc was the highlight, and they are the source of the feel good, in my opinion. And I ended up buying it because it was just $5 extra. Why worry about, I only have 72 hours to finish it just in case something happens, all this other stuff. And I don't regret it. It was awesome. And I could see myself watching this whenever I feel down. That being said, I do think that it does take a while to get going. The first 15 to 20 minutes, I was just sitting there like, where is this movie going? But once it gets going, man, it's a blast the entire way through. And even the first 15 minutes had me laughing multiple times. So it's not like it's bad. It's just it takes its time setting it up, and I think it pays off in the end because you get to know these characters so well. So I'm going to do a little something different for my favorite scene. I'm going to say that my favorite part of the movie was probably the montage of them going and getting all of the different musicians.
Yes.
But the scene that made me laugh the most was when they were at the counselors, and it was just like, you do realize that that this is supposed to be a couples therapy for just the husband and the wife, and they're like, yeah, we know.
We're a couple of couples.
Yeah, and it just keeps escalating to the point that the counselor is just like, all right, I'm out, I'm done. No more. It made me feel good. And it's so funny. And for score, I'm gonna give it a 3.75.
All right.
It's so close to a 4. If it really is it's a good movie. It's really worth the money.
Excellent. All right. Christopher G. Moore, what was your final thoughts, your score, favorite scene?
Well, first of all, I want to give a shout out to Kevin Yeager Productions. And if those who don't know who Kevin Yeager is, he's an icon in the effects industry. He did effects for the early Chucky films. He did effects for Nightmare on Elm Street, I think 1, 2, 3, and 4, I think, and The Hidden. He's done a lot of different effects things throughout the years, and his production company actually did the effects for Bogus Journey. And so I think one of the cool things about this film is the effects they did on Alex and Keanu for some of the scenes, which just added to the hilarity of certain scenes and really allowed them to sort of be these big characters, even though they're still playing Bill and Ted, but playing these variations. I'm sure having that effects allowed them to sort of feel more like the characters. But yeah, I think I do agree with what the Slattman was talking about involving the beginning, is that it was kind of slow in the beginning, and I was a little bit worried. I was like, I'm not sure a whole movie is going to sustain this, but I think once everything started kicking into gear, and they started having to use time travel and do all these different things, and it really got better as it went along. And then just that full blast of positivity at the end sort of cements it as a really wonderful movie that really is the that positive jolt of positive energy that we really need right now in our country, in our world. And I never thought a goofy thing where two characters say "dude" all the time would be
Dude.
would be delivering that message to me. And also just a great thing about age and stuff, and how a lot of times we're trying to seek answers other places when it's all there in front of us to begin with. And we're always trying to solve what's in the past when we should just thinking more towards the future. So yeah, I think it has a lot of great messages in it that, again, I didn't think would be in this kind of like comedy that's known for just, playing chess with, death, So yeah, I really, really enjoyed this. I got a little emotional at the end. I think it's, and I'm kind of glad that they did make it to buy so that I can go back and watch again when I'm feeling down, or if I feel like the world's going to shit, I can watch this and feel a little bit more positive about things.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and it's great to see these characters. It's great to see Keanu and Alex go back to these characters and have like such a fervor and passion for it, because they've been trying to make this film for many years, but they still been pushing to do it. So yeah, I loved it. I guess I don't know. I guess the scene my favorite scene is probably the scene where they meet themselves at the mansion, and they have those just over the top accents. And although I was like, somehow I'm not sure Bill and Ted would be able to pull off these sort of perfect British accents, but I do like that. And then just the reveal of them not being exactly who they are, and also when you find out like how they're trying to pull one over when they're playing them, this is the music is going to win the world, and you find out what it is. Like, oh man, jerks! They're being jerks to themselves. So I think that's probably the scene that kind of really stood out to me. But I think there's a lot of sort of fun scenes involving things, and also just the moment where we get that little glimpse of the hologram of George Carlin, I think was a nice little callback.
That could have went wrong, but they did it right.
Yeah,
it was simple. It wasn't too overarching, and I think it's perfect. And then just the subtle hint of naming his daughter after that George Carlin's original real daughter. Anyway, as for rating, I will give it I'll give it a 4.25. I think if the beginning was a little bit more stronger, I'd probably give it a higher. I would have given it a 5, but I think that's the only thing that kind of holds me back from that. But I think it's definitely worth watching. I think it's just a fun film, and even if you're not into goofy humor, I think that it has a real heart to it that most films don't ever have, and especially in our world, it's a rarity that these films have this kind of level of positivity that doesn't make you want to pull your teeth out because they're rotting away from all the sugary stuff. And this has that right amount of sugary that makes a dessert that deserves to be eaten. Why am I going back to food?
You always go back to
deserves
food.
to be on Hannibal's table, maybe.
Yes, on Hannibal's table. Yes.
Hannibal's
Name dropping
table.
another podcast series that we do.
Oh yes. All right. Well, I'll keep my review short. We're running way over today, but this is the film to do it with. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. I had such a great time watching this, and it's such a rewarding movie. It makes you feel good at the end, and it just lands. And yeah, I mean, it's the best bromance film out there. I'm just telling you, it really is. I'm going to give it a solid 4. I kind of wanted to creep up a little bit, but yeah, it's a solid 4. Just and one of the key things is, yeah, I'm going to watch it again. That's not true with a lot of films, right? And but I'm ready to go back and watch it again. And yeah, I bought it for $25 as well. What the hell, if I'm going to pay $20, I might as well pay $25 and get more out of it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what they suckered me. And
Okay. Disney didn't though.
They did a better job than the mouse.
Yeah, the mouse.
Yep, they beat the Mouse King.
And I heard it's probably okay that I missed it.
Yeah.
I might not want to watch that one again.
I know. I might not even do it for free. All right. Okay. my favorite scene. There's a lot of really great, actually great scenes in this, especially in the latter half. But I mentioned it earlier. My favorite scene is anything to do with Jimi Hendrix. And when he's playing again, with Mozart, right? That was I loved it. I loved when Mozart ran after the drummer. It was just.
Can we also take a moment to like appreciate like Louis Armstrong's reaction to Jimi Hendrix? He was like, yeah.
I mean, oh man, what a great collection of these musicians from time, so eclectic and so great, perfect,
like collection of scenes. Yeah,
and then when they all play together, it's well, I mean, that's what you want. That's this movie has to be about music, right? So and this movie does it wonderfully, and that their kids, the legacy that their kids can bring that into it and know all this, and even what Bill and Ted were trying to do at the very beginning. They recite, this was like great like this person, and that was great like that person, mentioning all these people in history that do the instruments, and they were like, I was really thinking about that when I did. So I have no idea who these people are, but they're really famous for those instruments. But anyway, all right, there you go. That's our review for Bill and Ted Face the Music. And if you stuck around, thank you. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope you enjoyed the movie. And I look forward to hearing your thoughts down below. Leave some comments. Oh, wow. What a great time. Christopher, Slattman, and Vanessa, thank you for joining me.
Always a pleasure.
we got our timing is off, but oh well, Matt. All right, with that, let's say goodnight. Ready? On 3, 2, 1.
Stay shy.
Let's get out of here.